culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss our memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
And I'm Giff.
And it's just the two of us again tonight.
Right.
When you have a tricycle, you need all three parts because you take away a wheel. What do you got? Oh, a bicycle. Don't use that.
Don't use that. Pete, cut that part.
Yeah, we're without Pete. And that's a little line from the movie. I just thought of that right now, Gifford. I'm on top of it.
You're
right?
amazing.
We are here tonight to talk about what is one of the most. This is a cult movie. This is a movie that's gaining steam over the years. It was a giant bomb, and I cannot believe it. And it was so funny. And we are here to talk about Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping, starring Andy Samberg, as well as the rest of his friends from the Lonely Island, and about 10,000 other people. And that is our topic tonight. So, Gifford, I'm going to ask, we'll just get right into it here. So you'd never seen it, but the first question is, you don't have any memories, but like, what did you heard about the movie? Were you excited to watch it? Did you know anything about it? What's your first reaction to finally watching? Just take it away, whatever you got there.
Well, to paraphrase a Spaceball combing the desert, I didn't know shit. Other than obviously it's Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island guys. I know it's going to be a parody movie. But I didn't know like all of the cameos that were in it. I just knew it was a parody of what I assumed was popular music in the mid 2015, 16. Making fun of say like a Justin Bieber or a lot of Justin Bieber basically.
Well, I think, and that's part of the problem with the marketing and the bomb of this movie, which we'll get to in a minute. But you're right. I mean, that is what you would have thought of first and foremost, probably.
Right. And of course, at this time, like I'm already, out of the cities. I'm not hanging out with you as much. So I wouldn't have been like listening, like you wouldn't have been like in my ear every day, like, when I lived down there saying, you got to watch this movie. This movie is hilarious.
Pre-podcast, so.
Right, exactly. Yep. Post leaving town pre-podcast, I was in the dark ages. So
did you want to share an initial response, or are we saving that for the discussion?
Well, I've seen, like I watched Hot Rod.
So I've never seen that, but I've heard it's another cult classic that probably is better than I expected.
And, I look at, Andy as kind of a second coming of like Will Ferrell. He's going to take his take on something and just run with it. And there's just going to be some ridiculous humor and, again, a lot of parody stuff. Ferrell did Talladega Nights and Anchorman and Semi-Pro and, just kind of made his take on popular things. And, Samberg does a great job at that. And I don't think you can argue with Lonely Island and the music they put together. So I think this movie is a perfect coming together of their strengths in making fun of, the industry.
Speaking of the Lonely Island, I should throw out too, this goes way back to our first season, like our second month of this show. We have an episode on the Lonely Island. You weren't on it. It was just me and Pete. And we did it because our fourth sometime host, Dave, who was picking stuff for us back then. It's Andy Samberg is his number one guy, like Mount Rushmore of guys, and he loves them. And so we listened to one of their albums and we did an episode on that. It's a long, long time ago, but it's out there and hope somebody might go listen to that as well as this one. So
yeah. It would have been April of
2021.
2021, yeah.
Yeah. It was probably like the 9th total episode or so. So It's way back there in the catalog. And when you scroll back and look for that one, you might find some other treasures too, because we've got like 160 episodes. So
you will find some other treasures.
That's true. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I like Andy Samberg as well. I don't like him in the way Dave does, but I think he's hilarious, and he has done very few things that I don't think are pretty damn funny. But this is not a movie I saw in the theater. This is not a movie I really thought was going to be that great. And I think it had to do with the marketing. I didn't expect a whole lot from it. but I did watch it on the Netflix DVDs when it came out, and me and my wife watched it, and she can be a tough one to please with a comedy movie, especially a kind of a dumb comedy movie. And my memory is that I don't think she probably want to watch it again, but my memory is she liked it a lot that night. Like we both laughed a ton, and I loved it. And it's one of those things, where you go maybe low expectations and it makes it even better.
Mm-hmm.
But I've watched it I don't know how many times since, and this movie it's amazing. It is that funny. The obvious comparison for me is to compare it to one of my other all-time favorite movies that we have an episode on, and that's Walk Hard. So Walk Hard came out about 10 years before this, and I thought was just the genius biopic send-up, with Dewey Cox playing Johnny Cash, but all these different types of guys. Spot on satire. It had great music in it. Like you could listen to the Walk Hard soundtrack and you can hear good music. And that's what this one has. It's genius writing, I think. And the music is amazing. It's hilarious, but it's just musically, it's like the writing and the production of this it's really good. And so when we did The Lonely Island, it was an album. Like they put out actual music albums. Mm-hmm. And the soundtrack to this is great. So it's a total lost treasure. I couldn't wait for you to watch it. I'm really excited for you to talk about it tonight. Mm-hmm. And that's why I picked it. It's one of those movies, and it's 2016. So we did our drafts last week, and there was a lot of things I could have actually picked. But when I thought back, this was a movie that the first time I saw it just hit me in a way that a lot of movies don't. And that's kind of what you pick a movie for this whole thing right here, right?
Well, and you being, such a big music guy and, listening to current music.
But this is not the type of music that I like.
No, but I think that might lend you to liking it a little bit more because you see you don't like the music that he's portraying. So maybe it lends you to liking it more because he's making fun of it so much.
Well, and the lyrics are just, they're so amazing. They're so funny.
Yeah. Lyrical genius.
They are. It's amazing. All right. So we're going to start this off. We're just going to go through a few fun facts. If you found any, I've just got a few numbers and things, and then I'll give a little synopsis. So to talk about it being a bomb, this was a $20 million budget movie, and it made less than $10 million.
Yeah.
It was just a complete bomb. And it has this cult following now. I've talked to a few people that I know like it. I think we brought it up. We were on the Totally 80s, 90s Recall on their show probably 2 weeks ago. But when I brought up we were going to do this, I think Dave said, "Oh yeah, that's a really good movie." And so, there people out there know it. And if you like this kind of stuff, it's something you can find. It does have 79% positive ratings by critics on Rotten Tomatoes, but only 65% by fans. This is another one where the fan vote is lower than the critics, which always surprises me. I'm not sure what's wrong with the people that saw this. The couple more things I have here is that so you mentioned Justin Bieber. It's maybe loosely based on Justin Bieber. That's what it looks like. And that's what a lot of the marketing was directed at. And the thing that I read that I think makes a lot of sense is it seemed to be marketed at younger people who liked, that type of music at that time. But the audience was going to be older people. It was going to be people who wanted, it wasn't the right marketing for the right age of audience. It was marketed more towards probably I don't know, teens and 20 somethings, when really it's more like 30-year-olds that probably are going to get into this thing. Mm-hmm. And until you see the movie, I don't think you get a true sense of what it really was about. And so I think the ads and the marketing just weren't done right. And they really pushed a lot of things that maybe didn't get the message out quite right. Yeah. I have one fun fact other than those information there. I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but it says most of the footage of the large concerts were actually One Direction concerts.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting because they were obviously huge at that time. And they weren't really making fun of One Direction, but it's that same, it's just that whole type of thing. You could see a mockumentary made about One Direction too.
Yes. Well,
find some things.
Couple things I have here. This is the first collaboration between Sandberg and Judd Apatow. So that was their first meeting. One thing that I found interesting. So in this movie, we'll get into, some of the things that happened. But in the movie, there's a scene where Seal is attacked by wolves.
Yeah,
and he claims that that's how he got his scars.
Well, as a joke, yes.
Right. Whereas in real life, he got his scars from lupus.
Yes.
And the scientific term for wolves is Canis lupus.
Oh, that's true. Well, that's very interesting.
Yes. So I love that little fun fact. A lot. I don't have a whole lot of other things. I honestly am wondering as we get into this if you've got some answers for me on stuff. I'm gonna just ask general questions as we go through. But I did find it interesting as I'm watching this movie, and one of the crux of this movie is that Connor for Real's second album doesn't do so hot.
Right.
And that we're seeing that in a movie that was also a box office bomb. So it's kind of meta in a sense.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying there? So
I do see that. I had never thought of that, but
so I'm wondering how Sandberg felt, putting this movie together. And again, great movie, a lot of fun. But then he sees the box office numbers come out, and it's like, what is going on here? Because opening weekend, he was 8th at the box office. So I mean, that's not horrible.
Yeah,
right?
It wasn't very good though. But then that was half of its total gross was that one weekend, and then it was just. I mean, it was out of the theaters. It was crazy how big of a bomb it was.
And they opened in like 3,100 theaters or something.
And like you said,
it's a huge wide opening.
It was an Apatow movie too. I mean, and how many things did he put out for years that were huge? So it's just, I don't know. It's a mystery to me. But if you haven't seen this movie or if you missed out, I hope that you might go give it a chance.
Yes.
If you like comedy and you like music, then I can't see why you wouldn't like this movie.
Movie made for you.
Yes. All right, I have a very short synopsis here, so a lot of people maybe haven't seen the movie, and this will just give you a quick little background. Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping is a mockumentary biopic about a group of longtime friends who hit it big in a group called the Style Boyz. When the lead Connor goes solo, things change. Owen stays on as his DJ, but Lawrence becomes a farmer and leaves the biz. He was very upset because Connor didn't give him any credit for his big catchphrase verse that he made that made him a giant star. We then follow the behind the scenes of Connor's self-destruction and eventual, of course, reclamation. Of course, the group does reunite in the end for a happy ending where everyone learns something about himself. Full of cameos and a killer soundtrack, Popstar hits the biopic tropes hard. You could say it never stops, and is a hilarious addition to the genre.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
It tells you what you got there.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to spend some time here now talking about the people in this movie. So we're going to go through the cast, but then we're going to go through the cameos because they never stop either. It's the title. It just keeps going. So of course we have Andy Samberg, who's Kid Connor, and then the other two Lonely Island guys, Jorma Taccone, who is Owen, Kid Contact. These are their names from the Style Boyz. And Akiva Schaffer is Lawrence, and he's Kid Brain. So they're the three main people in the movie. There's a lot of other people with bigger parts, but I mean, it revolves all around them. Of course, Andy Samberg's the main one because he goes solo, but Jorma's with him that whole time, Owen, and then Lawrence has gone on to live on the farm. So let's just talk about those three first. Gifford, do you have a favorite character of these three?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Connor for real, just because he's on screen so much, and it is all about him. So like when we are writing down our quotes for this movie, I mean, a lot of them are his, and a lot of them are his lyrics that he sings in his his new album. So yeah, I tend to gravitate towards him. I just think he carries the movie as he kind of needs to.
Okay. So. He's Andy Samberg, of course, is great. I didn't pick him because he's just such a turd of a person for most of the movie. I mean, he's funny, but my favorite of these three is Owen. I think Owen is great because he's the guy in the middle. He stays with Connor when he goes solo. He becomes the DJ, and he tries here and there to talk sense into him, but he can't. And he's trying to parent trap the two. That's a big part
Little
he
known
watched
movie.
this obscure movie, The Parent Trap. But he never gives up on the group and getting these guys back together when Connor and Lawrence have their big falling out. And he smiles and he just goes with the flow. And so I really like him. I like watching him on the screen, and I think his presence gives a little calming influence compared to Connor, who's at
he's
11 all the time.
Yeah.
So I pick him.
Fair enough.
All right.
And
now
to say Lawrence is maybe the least of the three is just because he's not in as much of the movie. His character is
more, yes.
His character is absolutely wonderful, and we'll get into it as we go through the movie. That last 20 minutes, when those three finally get back together, spoiler alert, when they finally get back together.
That in my synopsis.
Sure. That's some of the best part of the whole movie. It's just fun to see these guys come back together and then just start screwing around again, and that magic comes back together, and you see how it all, why the Style Boyz were as great as they were.
Reminds me of this weekend. We had our reunion and we all saw each other in person for the first time in so long. Like we were just screwing around and having a good time.
Yes. It all comes back together.
All right. You've got a lot of other people that I would consider part of the cast of this. The main one is, we describe Gary Cole as an American treasure. This guy's not too far off. Tim Meadows elevates every movie he's in. So we talked about Walk Hard a second ago. He might be the best part of Walk Hard, which is really saying something.
You don't want any of this shit.
He's one of the best parts in this movie too. So he plays the manager of the group, and he's kind of stuck between them and then the other guy that he follows. But I mean, of course, they treat him like shit at times. But he's great. Tim Meadows, always good. You have Sarah Silverman. She's got about the next biggest part in the movie. Really, they're probably the only two that have like an extended part, I would say.
Yes.
Where they're in multiple scenes. Maya Rudolph is in this, but she's only really in pretty much one scene, really, and then she has a little show up again at the end.
But
she's great. Deborah. Mm-hmm. Connor's girlfriend is Imogen Poots. That's a fun name to say.
It is.
I now know her from something. She hasn't been in a ton. She's also more of a producer too, so she's an actress. Like she does a lot of different things. But she has a small part too, but she's great in this. We both like the In-Betweeners. I didn't write his name down. It's just the guy from the In-Betweeners is in this. He's
he's the party
Connor's
guy.
Lackeys.
Yeah, he's the party coordinator. Yep.
You got Bill Hader. He again only really one major scene, but it's a memorable one where he talks about his favorite free time thing to do is flatlining. Like in the movie Flatliners.
What was his name? Zippy.
Zippy.
Zippy. Yeah.
He's kind of like the Tom Hanks roadie of Aerosmith on Wayne's World that we talked about. He's this crazy roadie on here. You got Joan Cusack, who plays his mom, Connor's mom.
Yes.
I think Chris Redd is another really underrated comedian. He plays Hunter the Hungry, who becomes their opening act rapper. That guy is really funny, and everything he says is pretty great. And he's another guy that just commits. And I don't know, something about his presence just makes me laugh. Like the way he delivers lines. He's got this kind of gravelly voice, and I like him a lot.
He says a lot with his eyes.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. In this, because he's crazy, he's got the crazy eyes going. So it's not just the voice; it's those buggy eyes.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I did, or I didn't.
I did.
And then the only other ones I have for the cast, they're in two scenes, but we have a send-up of TMZ called CMZ, and it's Will Arnett, Chelsea Peretti, Mike Birbiglia, and Eric Andre, amongst some other people, but they're the four that speak. And I guess I never watched enough TMZ to know the maniacal laughter of these people and the exponentially increasing large cups that they drink out of. It's so bizarre, but I mean, I talk about commitment. These guys are off the charts with that.
Right. And I didn't watch a lot of TMZ either, but when I see this, like, I know that's the thing. Like, that's obviously what they're taking off of,
Anybody, one or two stand out of this group to you here, Gifford? So, I mean, Tim Meadows, I'm sure you'll say, but
right, because he's, like you say, he's the fourth lead if there's another lead in this. I like Joan Cusack. I always have a soft spot for Joan Cusack. It was there. She had a great line where she's about to do coke with Connor's assistant, and she says, "Well, kids first, and then moms." Like she's just in it. She's now at her age, now she's going out and partying and getting crazy. And I just love Joan Cusack. She's been in so many things that I've loved over the years. So she's great. And then Sarah Silverman. I just love her delivery. She's just awesome.
All right. I said Chris Redd. I love in this. I'd pick him. He's the guy that was on SNL, but it was kind of a short-lived. Like you almost forget he was on there. That's where I really learned who he was. But he's been in a few movies where he's really funny. But besides him, the other guy that had kind of the one big scene that I thought was, Bill Hader, just everything he does, he kills it. And that whole flatlining scene, it's just the way he describes it. And it's so bizarre and out of nowhere.
Did I poop myself? Not this time.
I like him too. But everybody has their role. And I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't play their role like almost perfectly. All right. Did you have anybody else in the cast that I missed?
No, I don't think so. I mean, this would be under fun facts, I guess. All three of the wives for the writers were in this. One of them was the Flatliners girl. One was the stage manager at the end who makes out with Lawrence. That's actually his wife.
Oh, that is? I didn't see that.
Yep. And then the third one, I can't remember if she was a dancer or something in one of the scenes. So anyway, a few other, cameos there before we get to the big music cameos.
Okay. So there are cameos upon cameos in this movie, mostly musicians, but there's a couple others that, well, I'll just throw it like we talked before we started. Paul Scheer has a short cameo. We could include him, I suppose, in the cast instead because he's not a musician. And he's not playing music or anything.
Well, Kevin Nealon too, I guess.
Evan Nealon would be one.
Yep.
And then you could throw Jimmy Fallon in that category too, because there's a scene on the Tonight Show. But it's a little more extended than just that. But still, he's of course not a musician. But here I'm just going to list through what I wrote down, and I missed a couple. I didn't write down. So there's a scene where they're at the Pop Awards, and they show some people just in the crowd. And I saw them listed. I'm not including them because I don't even know if they know they're in the movie or if it's just footage, whatever.
It's archival footage.
Right. So like I saw like Miley Cyrus and Katy Perry, but I don't include them because they didn't speak or anything.
Right. You got if they don't have a line, we're not going to include them here.
So here are the cameos.
Right.
You got Questlove, Carrie Underwood, Nas, Usher, Akon, 50 Cent, Simon Cowell, another non-musician, but part of the music industry. Simon Cowell, Adam Levine, Mariah Carey. I'm going to get back to her in a minute. Pink, Ringo Starr. The other non-music one, but she's playing musician, is Emma Stone, and it's actually an uncredited cameo. The rest are like listed, but she's not, and you almost miss her if you're not paying attention. DJ Khaled, ASAP Rocky, Mario Lopez, another non-musician.
Oh, right, yeah.
Justin Timberlake, Danger Mouse, RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan, T.I., Pharrell, you mentioned Seal earlier, Weird Al, and Arcade Fire. No, I'm not done yet. And Snoop Dogg. Martin Sheen is another non-music one. That's a pretty good one. And finally, Michael Bolton at the end, which is a nice surprise one there too. So before we talk about some of these, do you have any other ones that I didn't say? Did you check off your list along with that?
No, you hit every single one of them that I have listed here. Yep, amongst other ones. I didn't write down Emma Stone because she wasn't a actual singer, or musician.
And almost all of these are part of the mockumentary. Like, so you know who they are because their name's on the screen because they're being interviewed about the Style Boyz or about Connor. But like Emma Stone is when Connor hit it big, he played his catchphrase first in her song in a collaboration. And so all you see is her singing one of her songs.
Turn up the beat.
And I had to like back it up and make sure. I'm like, wait a minute, because I didn't remember her being in it. I'm like, that's Emma Stone. There's another one.
Yeah.
So I wrote down some memorable lines by a few of these people, some of my favorite ones, but I will let you go first. Which of these cameos maybe stood out to you, Giff?
Well, first of all, my first question on this. So you said this movie has a $20 million budget. How did they get all of these people? I mean, I know that like some of them did do Lonely Island songs,
Yeah, I
so
think they
they
built
had
up
some connection.
a lot of them probably just because they're friends and they've collaborated in the past, and who knows if they might have just done it for fun.
Well, but that's the other thing too is you're going to be in a movie that is making fun of your industry. And like I just loved how everybody played it so straight, so sincere about how much they loved the Style Boys and how
Right.
big they were when they came out. I think the line that I wrote down that really stuck with me was when Connor's song "I'm So Humble" came out,
Oh, yes.
and they go to Mariah Carey, and she goes, "This
Yes.
connects with me, because I'm the most humble person that I know."
I
I think
instantly connected with humble because I'm
yes,
probably the most humble person I
yes.
know.
So she's making that's the great part of all these cameos.
Yep.
They're essentially making fun of themselves.
Yep.
And that makes it so much better. I mean, having Simon Cowell sit there and say how great the Style Boys were, and then when Connor for real split off, like he's the real deal. It's just like, oh my God, it's so great to hear these people have fun with these roles.
That was one of my favorites too. And I'm not a big Mariah Carey fan, but when she said that line, I like,
Mhm.
she's pretty great. That made me laugh and it made me have a new respect for her.
Right.
Because I don't like her music very much.
Maybe if we could get the guy from Oasis to say that line, maybe you'd come back
Maybe.
around to Oasis.
But then the thing with her is she comes back at the Pop
Mhm.
Awards at the end and she yells at Hunter the Hungry and she's funny again. So like
Yeah.
she doubles down on that one.
Yep.
I got a couple here too. We can go back and forth. One of my favorites is Ringo Starr though, because it's funny to get a Beatle come on here. And Connor writes the song, which we'll get to the songs in a little bit, but it's called Equal Rights and it's about gay marriage. And Ringo's like, he's writing the song for gay marriage like it's not allowed. It's allowed now.
It's allowed now. Right.
And that
Yeah.
was so great. They got him to come on and just do that. That's awesome.
Well, and like the next one for me would be it's way at the end of the movie, but it's also making fun of like how these musicians document everything all the time with these, documentaries. And right at the end, you've got Snoop Dogg doing his own
Yes.
documentary, his own show.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Surprise, motherfucker, from Snoop Dogg. So
You've been
that's
surprised.
right. So that's awesome. I love that one. What else? What else you got?
Another line I had was DJ Khaled has a good one because he's talking about this catchphrase verse that they keep talking about. It's ridiculously stupid, but he's like, it's so great because when you have a catchphrase, the world is catched by your phrase.
Catched. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then right under that, ASAP Rocky's funny too because he was selling something called ASAP Crunchables. They're like Lunchables, but they got his name on it, and like he's making fun of him. All these guys are like just making fun of themselves in the industry and everything. It's great.
Yeah, and I liked like Carrie Underwood. Like one of the things she said was she talked about like how hot somebody was and how she had a crush on him. I'm like,
Connor, I think.
Yeah, this is Carrie Underwood. She's hotter than the sun, for crying out loud. And she's talking about how she had a crush on these guys. And it's I think that's awesome. And of course, we did mention, of all of these cameos, Seal has the biggest role of all of them.
And talk about making fun of yourself. Let's not ignore the scars. How do you think I got these scars?
Right.
In wolves.
Wolves. Right. I mean, let's address the elephant in the room here, right? So
and he's out there singing and he's all serious. I mean, that's just because Seal never came across. I don't know a lot about Seal, but he never came across as like a funny guy or anything. And see him in this role, it's like, wow, that's pretty great.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it all comes back to these guys making fun of themselves is the best part.
Non-music one, Martin Sheen's is one that stood out too, because he's just out of nowhere and he's in like this video clip and he punches Connor and like I can't remember what he yells at him, but he's like
he starts yelling Attica, Attica, Attica. So it's from what is that, Dog Day Afternoon or whatever. The other one I liked, and it wasn't a line, but it was in the song "I'm So Humble" when you have Adam Levine humping himself
Yes.
in the
And they're
hologram.
holograms.
I mean,
yeah. So speaking of Mariah Carey, Adam Levine in Maroon 5 is another thing that I don't like. But Adam Levine might be the most perfect usage of a guy in this movie. His voice in that song is perfect because his voice can be so annoying to me at times, but it's perfect in that song. Again, he's up there, all these holograms of himself dancing and slapping his own ass, and it's great. I love him in this. And Pink is in a song with him, and she's got to sing that Equal Rights song with him. So a lot of these guys are being interviewed, but others are like full out like singing these ridiculous songs and taking full part in it too. That's the beauty of all these. It's not just cameos for cameos. It's people who are like totally bought in and just are having fun, and it's great.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right. Anything else in the cameos? I have said everything I had ready.
I think I've got, unless I run into something somewhere down the line. Oh, one cameo that we didn't happen to mention. Again, maybe not a cameo because they didn't say any words, and that would be Tony.
Oh yeah, well I was going to get to that later when we talk about other stuff. But yes, you could. Okay, so I was actually going to ask: was the picture of Tony? Was that actually the three guys from Tony?
You know what? I should have looked that up. I'm gonna do it right now and see if I can figure it out here.
So we'll just talk about that right now too. Then, so Tim Meadows, now he's a manager, but he was in a band, and he was the fourth Tony. But Tony all had exclamation points behind their names, and he thought he should have a question mark.
Right.
So it's Tony. And he said, turns out that wasn't the best career move. Is it really them?
It looks awfully close to them. I suppose you can't see that through my thing. But yeah, it looks pretty similar to what that picture was. So
and that's another great, just funny because, everybody remembers Tony, and that they had exclamation points, and then they just throw in this random fourth Tony. All right. We're gonna spend a lot more time on the songs coming up, but right now is the time to talk about what are some of the lines that stood out. Because this is a movie, you can't even really go through the plot. It's just one thing after another. There's a lot of funny lines. I could have written down almost every single line in the movie. So we can just kind of go back and forth right now. What are some of your favorite lines that stood out to you if you're watching it for the first time?
So I'm not going to use any lines from any of the songs.
Yeah, I'm not either.
So during this portion.
Doink to doink.
Doink to doink, right? That was a catchphrase. So the first one that I've got here early on in the movie when we're really getting to know Connor for real. His line here is, "My fans and me are in love.
Yes.
My songs are love letters. The arena is our bedroom, and the stage is where we fuck."
I have that one down too.
That is so awesome. It's
one of those dumb lines, but actually, it makes sense. It totally makes sense too.
If you're in Connor for real's world, it totally makes sense. Yes.
I had one from Connor before that. When they originally broke up the Style Boyz, the original DJ left, and he said the DJ went off to hunt dolphins like a dickhead.
Right. That is awesome. Let me see. What is my next one here that's not in a song? Oh my God. Paula, his publicist, is talking backstage, and she says, Sarah Silverman. She says, Connor's music isn't the kind of music like I would listen to in my own time, but his music seems to make so many people money.
That's a good one. Easy to miss. When he's about to release his second album, or no, it was the single, the first single, he says, "We're going to surprise release it next Thursday at noon."
Right, yes.
And that's hilarious because it's like, everybody does these surprise things, but you can't keep a secret anymore. And it's like, why is it a surprise? Just put it out. I think that, and this is 8 years ago, but that whole line is just so satirically like on point that I think that's even funnier because of that. The truth behind it.
Right. One that I got after the quick change goes wrong on stage in front of the audience when Connor goes, 10 seconds isn't an eternity, Harry. It's a third of the way to Mars.
Oh, so I got two there. First, he's yelling, "It's a great conundrum," because he doesn't know if he should pull his wiener out so that people know he has one, or he can't because he can't expose himself.
Right.
But the line I have is Tim Meadows' line. Connor, we talked about this. 30 Seconds to Mars is the name of a band, not a fact.
I just love it. It's a third of the way to Mars. I mean, God, that is funny. I wish they wouldn't have explained it. I wish they would have.
I think the line by Harry is brilliant. I love it, and the delivery. The name of a band, not a fact. You got to have that in there.
You think so? I wish they would have just let it go and seen how many people would have actually gotten that joke, because I think it's a brilliant joke.
Sarah Silverman also has a good line when she's talking to Connor after he's been in the Anne Frank house, and it's, "Did you take a shit in the Anne Frank house?"
Which is another rip on Bieber, because Bieber got in some controversy because he said he hopes that Anne Frank would have been a believer.
A believer. Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Now
these things are so funny, but they're all based on truth, and these people making fun of themselves. It's great because Justin Bieber actually is in the end too.
But that's an archival footage thing.
Is it?
Yep. He's not actually in the movie. He claimed on Fallon that this movie wasn't really based on Justin Bieber, but oh my God.
Not entirely, but clearly
he said, Connor's a rapper and Justin's a singer, but I'm like,
yeah, okay.
There's so much stuff in here that is like, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's this boy band that breaks up. I mean, it obviously it stretches other things, but clearly Bieber is an influence on the movie.
Yeah, I would say so. The next one I had here, when they were interviewing Usher, and of course everybody knows how great of an artist Usher is, and
he's great in this too.
Oh, he's amazing. And his line here where he said, "The donkey roll is the reason I dance." And that is such a stupid freaking dance that everybody knows. Like when they're on Fallon, everybody in the audience
is donkey roll.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my God, Usher is such a great performer, and this is the essence of why he dances, is this donkey roll.
When Connor gets mad at Harry and fires him, he pushes a whole bunch of papers on the ground, and Harry goes, "Oh, now I got to collate that."
Right. Have fun collating.
Yeah.
Nobody has fun collating.
Probably my favorite scene in line is you go ahead again. My next one is the one that's probably my favorite.
Okay. So I'm going to go more towards the end of the movie here.
Unless you're going to steal it from me. I don't know.
Well, let me see. Is Paula in yours? Sarah Silverman?
Yes. It's a series of lines, actually. So you go ahead and say one of them.
So she comes by Connor's mom's place. He's there, feeling sorry for himself. And she comes in to see him. And he offers her a drink. And she says, "It's 11 o'clock in the morning." And he looks at her and goes, "It's 11:30 somewhere." Like,
well, that is not the line I'm going to say. So
I love that line so much because obviously it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but he only needs to wait another half an hour.
But right after that, she convinces him to go out because they're going to go see Owen do his solo gig, and Andy Samberg's like, "Oh, I got to put my makeup on," and you don't really know what he means. You think he's just got to make himself look nice, and they get to this bar, and he's wearing this ridiculous giant nose and like a disguise, and before I remember that she even said this, I'm looking at it like, that looks like Matthew Modine. And she goes, "Your makeup looks exactly like Matthew Modine had a peanut allergy."
Yes.
And then she says, "You look like Nazi propaganda."
I forgot that one. Yes.
And then there's another one. When Owen sees him, he says, "It's really hard to talk to you right now, seriously, because you look like Jason Segel."
Right. Oh yeah, I gotta forget about Sarah Marshall. Yeah, you forget about her.
But that makeup is one of my favorite gags in this movie. But those lines are just absolute gold. Because Matthew Modine, I mean, he's probably a pretty big actor to some of us that grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
But talk about he's in Stranger Things too, of course. We're going to talk about next week. But talk about kind of a rare reference, and it's spot on. It's perfect.
The Nazi propaganda line may be one of
That's
the greatest lines in the whole movie. I can't believe I didn't write that one down.
It does. It's exactly what he looked like.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh boy,
I only have real.
Left for real.
Let me see. Why don't you go again? I'll see if I got any other ones highlighted.
I just really love it's more the delivery of this, but when Tim Meadows, Harry gets really mad at Hunter at the end, and like Hunter has his comeuppance, and he yells at him, he goes, "I will eat your head." But then after that, he punches him, and then he walks over to the Style Boyz, and he's like, "Oh my god! Like I can't believe I did that."
Right.
That whole thing is Tim Meadows, man, at the top of his game.
I like the line where Paula calls him and tells him he needs to come to the Pop Awards because Taylor Swift was arrested for murdering somebody.
That's how he got back on there.
That was a great line. Another one I thought was hilarious is the whole apology to Lawrence.
Yes, the build of that.
The build of that was awesome. And then his final line in that was, "I think the only person in the whole world who cares about the credit for who wrote that is you." Well, of course he's the only one who cares. He's the one who actually freaking wrote it.
And actually, though, that wasn't his final line. After pause,
he says, "I'm sorry." Yeah.
And then that's where it all, you brought up earlier, them all getting back together. He slowly walks to him. Lawrence does. Looks like maybe he's going to punch him, and he just hugs him. And then everything's great after that.
Yeah.
And that's where my last line that I wrote down, it's not really a funny line so much, but I love how they talk about how, he can be Connor for real because he's still in the Style Boyz. It's like RZA. He went off and did his own album, but he's still in the Wu-Tang Clan.
Right.
And it's like, we're like the Wu-Tang Clan.
Only better.
Well, maybe not.
No, we're not. Right. As soon as I said it, I heard, it wasn't right. One of the lines I wrote down, and it's only because there's a certain term that's in it that I haven't heard in forever. And it's the scene where the stage manager and Lawrence start making out after they came off stage as the Style Boyz. And he goes, "That stage manager lady just macked on Lawrence super hard." When was the last time you heard the term macked?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like that long. So
really? Oh my God, that is such a 90s term.
But a term that you don't expect to hear. There's a scene, the Maya Rudolph scene earlier. One of the guys uses the N-word at her, and she repeats it back, but with the hard R. And Tim Meadows goes, "Oh, we're gonna go with the hard R, huh?"
Right. Yes, the hard R.
All right, so we got now the songs, and this is going to be, it's kind of like with Major League when we did that final scene, we had to talk so much about it. The songs are brilliant, and so we're going to go through several of the biggest songs and just what you thought about them. I've written down some of the great lyrics to these, and then we'll go from there. So the first song is, and I didn't write every single one down, so I don't know if you have, but the first song I wrote down is the original Style Boy song, "Karate Guy," and I love, and it's just about kicking it, but not being karate. It means like chilling with my friends. But it ends with, "Now I'm in a cowboy hat." And the other guy is, "Now I'm in a cowboy hat." And then Andy Samberg, "Now I'm in 3 cowboy hats." And he's got 3 cowboy hats. And it's so dumb, but this is what people loved. It made them big. It's so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only thing I got for that is that cowboy hat thing. And then it went into him doing a commercial for jeans, and I just got a couple notes from the jeans.
Yeah. White boy jeans.
White boy jeans, where on the butt it says exit only, and on the front it says Jizz Factory. I mean, come on.
Oy.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Did you have more there?
That was the commercial. I don't know what else there was. Right. Yeah.
I didn't know. So the next song, then, we brought up "Humble" already, and the beauty of this is the Adam Levine part, and he's singing in the holograms, and it's a great use of his voice. This is one of my favorite. There's 3 songs that I think stand above this one, and it's during the opening credits. So this is way early in the movie, and the credits are rolling at the same, and it really gives you the sense, wow, this is going to be good, because this song kicks ass. So I wrote down one verse. I want to just read through it quick. "Bar none, I am the humblest, number 1 at the top of the humble list. My apple crumble is by far the most crumblest, but I act like it tastes bad out of humbleness. The thing about me that's so impressive is how infrequently I mention all of my successes. I poo-poo it when girls say that I should model. My belly's full from all the pride I swallow. I'm the most courteous, biddable, hospitable, reverential, normal Larry, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I hate compliments, put them in the mortuary. I'm so ordinary that it's truly quite extraordinary.
Yes.
And you can read every verse, but
Right.
it's just, of course, so the whole point of the song is the irony. He's talking about he's humble, but it's completely the opposite. And then that Mariah Carey line comes in, which makes it even better.
Right.
So
Well,
that's one of my favorites.
the only other line I have from that, the only other lyric is being great is just my weakness. But I love my belly. My belly's full from all the pride I swallow. I think that is such a great. And again, this is back to, Lonely Island. I mean, the way they can turn a phrase is just absolutely amazing.
Exactly. All right. So that is one of my 3 favorite songs. The next one is another one. It's called Equal Rights. This is the one Pink sings on, and it's about gay marriage. But as you listen to it, here's a little line from that one. The time for change is now. Sports, lying in bed next to 10 beautiful girls, all straight. And while I made love to every one of them, I was thinking about the world. Hot wings. How is it that I can have so much straight sex while 2 dumb dudes are oppressed, not gay, for having sex, not gay? Or putting on a wedding dress, I assume. I don't really know that much about it. Beef jerky tastes good. Politics are important. If girls want to have sex with me because I said this, so be it, not gay. I'm not a hero. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm not a hero. Don't call me a hero. Beer, hoagie, sweatpants, not gay. Yeah, not a hero. Titties, not gay.
It's just great. And you know what one of my favorite parts of this whole thing is he shows himself with a girl's legs up at his shoulders, like Patrick Bateman style.
Yep.
Implying that he has to let everybody know that he's not gay, despite the fact he's trying to sing for gay rights.
That's the one Pink sings on, and there's this part even in the video where her face just looks away like, oh, can I believe I'm not in this thing?
Right. Yeah. So a couple things I got here is this was I think it was the second song that came off the album.
Yes, because he needed something to help, bring people back after it bombed, and he thought this Equal Rights song was going to be, a big thing.
So now he gets to a part where he reads the reviews for his album. Oh, yeah. And Rolling Stone, instead of giving it any stars, gives him the poop emoji. But then his spirits are lifted when he finds this site that calls the album a triumph. And of course, we come to learn that it's The Onion.
And he doesn't know what that is.
Yeah. And he goes, so mixed reviews,
we'll call it mixed. All right. I think the next song is maybe my favorite because it is so bizarrely brilliant. It's called Finest Girl, in parentheses, Bin Laden song. And
can I just say, before this is where we had the catchphrase song in Turn Up the Beef with Emma Stone. So
catchphrase verse or anything?
The only 2 I wrote down was Dinky Nuts and hats. Just hats. That was one of his catchphrases. Sorry, go ahead on to the Bin Laden song.
It's one you get a whole stage show of this song. And that's part of what it's a great show. You got these women walking out in these like skimpy military outfits saluting, and you've got flags, and it's amazing. And if you could read all the lyrics, and this is one where you can't do a lot of this without getting really dirty, but I picked out, I think this will do okay. So here's a verse from this. She was a freaky kind of girl, kept up with current events from all around the world. More specifically, one event, the time Osama bin Laden got shot in the head. She said, do me like that. But I couldn't track the metaphor. That said, I can see you horny like a stegosaur. That said, again, your request is so irregular. She put on her beard. I started looking out the exit door. Then a turban, then a tunic. She said, invade my cave with your special unit. I said, he wasn't in a cave, but there was no stopping. She demanded that I F her like we F bin Laden. And of course, they use the F word. I'm not going to, they say it like 55 times.
That word is used 75 times in this movie.
You have that?
Yeah. Not in a song, just in the movie.
But
Oh my
the
God.
combination of Bin Laden and having sex with this girl and it's brilliant. I don't even know where you come up with these ideas, but and it is so catchy though. This song is so
Yeah,
it's
it
like a
is.
really good song to listen to, and then you just laugh.
Well, and can I say that watching this movie early on in the movie, I turned the subtitles on because I didn't want to miss
That would help.
anything because they're so quick. The lyrics are so fast, and I don't want to have this thing blaring in my house, and upsetting, everybody else that lives there, trying to hear all the lyrics. So I'm reading the lyrics to these songs, and they are just unbelievable. Yeah,
I am of the
excellent.
age where we always have the subtitles on now. We don't
Sure,
watch TV without subtitles anymore. I've just gotten too used to it.
fair enough.
But this is a case where it's really helpful, even if you don't. Did you have
Well,
anything to add? Did you like that song?
I didn't write the line down before it, so it's not going to rhyme. But the line I wrote down was, "And my justice will be punitive. I'm a smash."
Oh, and there was one before that, and instead of on the smash, it's like, oh, you're carrying something like illegal or something, and it
Yeah,
goes that ass.
that ass. Yes, and then it's my
The
justice.
other
will be
line is
punitive.
something about
I'm
how
a
she
smash.
wanted him to do her with the clinical precision of the way the military took out Bin Laden.
How do you? But that's the other great part about it is that the F Bin Laden is the sing along part of the song.
Yes.
Like everybody just, it's just great how they shoot it, and they keep like going back to what's his DJ's name? Shoot, sorry.
Owen.
Owen. They keep going back like to Owen, and Owen's like F Bin Laden, and then they go to somewhere else, and it's F Bin Laden. And it took me back to like, and I don't know this movie well, but you love it. It's Team America. It sounds like something that would come out of that movie.
It does. The next one, actually, there aren't a lot of lyrics in the movie, but I looked them up. I looked up the lyrics as I was looking up. It's Mona Lisa, and it's Mona Lisa. You're an overrated piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So you only hear a little bit of it in the movie, but I wrote this verse down. It's great. I landed in Paris at 12:45. So excited to see her, I went straight to the Louvre. I heard she's exquisite, so I bought my ticket, pushed my way to the front of the crowd, and I couldn't believe what I saw. Mona Lisa, you're an overrated piece of shit. With your terrible style and your dead shark eyes and a smirk like you're hiding a dick. What the F is this garbage? Mona Lisa, the original basic bitch, traveled thousands of miles to see your beautiful smile. Talk about a bait and switch. You ugly.
Oh my God, that is so great.
That is great too, though, because somebody that doesn't know Mona Lisa is gonna, if you're in his mindset, I mean,
Right.
she is ugly. It's like, what's the big deal? This is just a dumb picture, and
To refer to her as a basic
reacting that way.
To refer to her as a basic bitch is just so perfect for the time, right? Like that is awesome. Yeah, I had in here that you look like a garbage pail kid.
Yes, that's the one they say in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good because then they actually show a garbage pail kid, and they really match up pretty well.
Right.
Yeah. The next one, I don't really write many lines down because all you could do is just lists and lists of a weird random stuff, and then it goes, "These are the things in my Jeep."
Oh yeah, that was
Lawrence's, and that was written by Lawrence.
First single that he tried to put out, and it didn't connect. Who didn't it connect with? Because he had different things in his Jeep.
Yeah. I have different things in my Jeep.
Was it Nas?
I think it was Nas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was so great the way he said that. It's like, all right, we see the donkey roll when they're on Jimmy Fallon. There aren't really many words; it's more of a dance.
Yep.
We see a little bit. He went to Spain and he learned that everybody says the S with the TH sound. So then he wrote a song called Ibiza. Every day is a fiesta tata.
No, he didn't write a song. He wrote a thong.
He wrote a thong.
He said those are the. I was reading the subtitles, so I wrote the thong.
All right, I only have two more songs here.
Okay.
The next one is the last song in the movie proper. It's Incredible Thoughts, and this is where Michael Bolton shows up. But so here's a sampling of this song. A child bites an apple, but the core is rotten. TV is free, but what is the cost? We have a GPS, and yet we're still lost. A carrot in the desert, a camel in the garden, a man with a giant ears begging your pardon. What if a garbage man was actually smart? A common misconception that we're tearing apart. And to a dog food is just food. And to a sock, a mansion's just a big shoe. A milk dud sitting in the acid rain, a house cat addicted to the cocaine. No teeth, unlimited floss. These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
Yeah.
And then Michael Bolton comes in and sings the verse at 100%.
Yep.
Not the verse, the chorus. And this is the song that they do on the final Poppy Awards where they're all together.
Back together. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And the line I have from this is the very last one. I swear my mind blows my mind. Yes.
The only other one is in the credits, and there's a couple, but the first song is called Me Likey That. When I hit a home run, me likey dat. I got a burger and a bun, me likey dat. When Attila the Hun drinks a gallon of rum in his tummy tum tum, me likey dat. That's all I remember that one.
I got buck naked at the buffet bar, me likey that. Eating up the chicken fingers and all the crude tar, me likey that.
All right, so I have two more questions here for you. One is, do you have any other songs written down that I skipped? And do you have a favorite song? I don't think
the only other one that I have down is the very last one. After Me Likey That's over, they do another quick little hit with CMZ or whatever it is, and then they go into a song about smoking crack and how they need to legalize it.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the only other song I had. My favorite song, Me Likey That.
Really?
Because I like how they.
So you're an OG style boy,
right? I like how they keep calling each other in and and throwing their own back and forth amongst the three of them. I think it's really catchy. I wished it was longer, because it was maybe two verses and that and it was a pretty quick hit and then they got out of it. But I really like that one. If I was gonna take a second one, I'd probably go with I'm So Humble. Yeah, just because I love how it's the absolute opposite of what it. So, well, I guess Equal Rights is. I don't know. God, there's so many good ones, but
good.
Me Likey That. I think I'm gonna stick with.
All right, and that is a Style Boyz song, not a Connor for Real song.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
All right. Before our draft, our last category is just any other stuff in this movie or favorite scenes that we haven't hit on. I've got a few more things that we haven't discussed yet. I'll let you go first if you have something to start with.
Well, I think I already mentioned it. The last 20 minutes when the guys get back together, I think is just so great because the whole time you're feeling bad for Connor for Real, even though he's the reason that his whole album sucks. But you want him to get back to being balanced, and he needs to do that with his guys. And I think that scene's awesome. I think I got one other thing here I got to remember, but you go ahead.
I like when they show his because they don't really talk about it, but his first album, they show a picture of it, and it's called Thriller Also. That's a nice little touch.
Yeah.
He mentions there's 32 people on his payroll. My favorite one is there's a guy who punches him in the nuts so that he remembers where he came from.
How about the perspective manipulator?
Manipulator, yeah. Shorter guy.
That one's pretty good.
A couple things about Owen that I like. One is he shows him his whole big stage thing, but really all he needs is his iPod and he pushes play. And then he shows, but I can keep so much on here, including audiobooks. And he starts playing a Harry Potter book over the big sound speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love that big, so Connor's, he's a jerk, but he makes him wear that giant helmet.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he like falls over and he can't stand up and it makes this huge, just like tinny sound. And it's hilarious.
Yeah. The other thing I had was the scene where Owen has finally parent trapped him and they're in the limo. And then we have the rabid fans outside.
Oh, yeah.
And when the penis is up against the window and he puts the window down, how it kind of skips a little bit down the glass.
Yeah.
I think that
and then he lifts it up over it, too.
Right. But just how it kind of skips down is so great.
And that's another connection to Walk Hard, where you have this like unexpected full frontal penis scene in the movie, which you never see, but it's in both of these movies.
Yeah, right.
I compared Lawrence to Bill Berry of my favorite band REM, who leaves the band and goes to live on a farm. But I love when he shows us his woodwork, and this one just looks like nothing. He says this one's called Government in Crisis for obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons. Yeah.
The two scenes that I think are probably the funniest that we haven't hit on, that the only thing I have left here. One is Harry and Connor are going to have a private conversation, so they tell him to shut the cameras off. And then during that time, these bees come and they attack him, and they get out a flamethrower, and it's this crazy sound going on, and he's like, "Tell me you got that on camera," and they're like, "You told us to turn the cameras off," so they didn't get any of it.
Yeah.
But the proposal scene, we talked about Seal a little bit, but they have wolves there, and it's just the wolves get off their leashes, and it's just absolute pandemonium. I just think that scene is hilarious.
So I had a couple scenes that were reminded me of other movies. The scene where Connor, really kind of breaks down after the tour is canceled, and he is chopping up his statue, and he's riding his four-wheeler around. That kind of reminded me of Billy Madison a little bit. This crazy guy who has no responsibility and can't understand how to deal with things.
He has a pool, and he falls into the pool.
Yep. And then the other one is where he's at his mom's house and he's drawing horses and selling them online.
Yes.
I thought some of those horses were indicative of Napoleon Dynamite.
Yep, I can see that. Well, and the way he describes the details like Napoleon does with the shading and the liger and everything.
Yeah. Well, and the one where it's more just the horse's head and the neck, I was like, well, that looks like the picture of, was it the one girl where it took him forever to shade the upper lip? Like that was his masterpiece, All
right. So you did like the movie?
Yeah, it's amazing. I love the parody of it. I love these serious and very accomplished musicians that will come on and make fun of themselves because they know it's going to be awesome. A lot of them have worked with Lonely Island Boys. Particularly JT. I don't think we even brought up JT having a role in this as the chef on tour.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I did mention him in my list, I think, but we didn't even talk about him.
Right. So I think that it's just such a cool factor to have those people in there. And like I say, playing it straight, none of them with not a scent of irony on them, knowing that they're making fun of themselves. So I just love that. And again, the lyrics are phenomenal in these songs.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, they're a great fictional band, and our draft tonight, since we've kind of talked about this topic before too, is we're going to draft our favorite fictional bands or musical artists. So bands, musical artists that were in movies, or they could, if you pick TV, I guess. I don't know.
I've got both.
Okay. We're part of the show or the movie, and they're not a real band. So like the Style Boyz, like Connor for real. Since this is my choice of a movie, I will be picking first and then Gifford, and then we'll do our back and forth for our third list to fill in for Pete again tonight.
Excellent.
All right. So I probably could save this one because I bet you just let me have it. But I think my first pick is going to be Dewey Cox.
Yes. I wrote it down. I was not going to take it. It's kind of one of those where I honor your love for that. So I'm going to go.
You're very kind.
Yes. I didn't even highlight it after I.
So in that case, it's good that I didn't pick something else to steal from you because then that would have been very rude.
So I'm trying to decide what I want to take first that you might take. So maybe top of my list here that I think you will also appreciate. From television, I'm going with Robin Sparkles.
Oh, yes. See, I didn't really think of TV. I kind of skipped over TV.
Sure.
But I did think of her. I thought of her the other night, but I wasn't making my list. And then I forgot about her.
Yeah.
So she would have been on my list, and I would have picked her. Great pick.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick one that I think you would also appreciate. I wonder if you thought of this person or not. That is Billy Mack from Love Actually.
Oh, see, that's why I love these lists. I did not think of him. That is awesome. Great pick.
I knew either you'd have him or you would like that pick a lot.
I love that pick. All right. I'm going back before 1980. And I'm going to take Otis Day and the Knights from Animal House.
I guess for some reason I always thought that was a real band.
You know what? I thought it was a real band forever too, and then I found out it wasn't. And then when I put this list together, I double checked to make sure that it was not a real band.
Well, and I never saw it listed on anything I looked up either to give me some help. That's okay. Good one. All right, I will go with, well, I haven't seen this movie as much as other people. It kind of one I kind of missed, but I'm going to go for votes, and I know it's a great one. I'm picking Spinal Tap.
Yep. That was the first one that I wrote down. I thought I could let it slide, but that's
one that didn't really hit us early on, and so it's not one of our big ones, but we love those guys and the whole thing. So
they're great guys. All right. Well, I'm gonna go with another iconic one. I'm gonna go with the Blues Brothers.
Right. And I knew you'd get them because I'm not a big Blues Brothers fan.
Yeah.
So I'll let you have that one as well.
Well, and there's so many great musicians, like real musicians in that movie. But yeah, we're going to go with the Blues Brothers.
All right. I'm going to have a lot left over here, a lot of good ones. I'm going to pick one that I brought up on the show, and this was going to be a much more obscure one. But if you've seen the movie, you'll get it. And if you haven't seen it, you might want to watch it. And Gifford, you watched the movie, I believe, on my recommendation. I'm picking The Commitments.
Oh, yes. I did not write it down, but
a bunch of young Irish people that decide to create a Motown band, and it's just such a fun, good movie. And the music is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely wonderful. And yes, I did watch that at your behest. All right, I am going with Phoebe Buffay.
Yeah, I did not think of her either.
Yeah, I've got a lot of television on my list.
All right, I only have one left already. There's two I'd like to pick.
Again, I did not pick one in particular because I figured you would take them. So we'll see. I
wonder
if you take them or Pete gets them.
For my last one, I'm going to pick The School of Rock.
That was the one. No Vacancy.
The Kids and Jack Black.
Yep. Yeah, I told myself I wasn't taking two things on this list. It was going to be Dewey Cox and No Vacancy. Because I figured you would pick them up. All right, my last one. Ooh, well, there's a couple of real good ones that Pete's going to get. I'm going to take Love Burger.
Oh, I have that one.
And Donald Faison's band in Can't Hardly Wait.
I was wondering I didn't want to give that one away. I was wondering if you had thought of that one or not.
Oh, yeah, that one's high on the list.
I have that as well. All right. So now we're going to pick for Pete. So we're going to pick 5 more.
Yep.
Before we get into our extras. All right. So this is one I could have picked. We brought it up a couple of times actually recently. I haven't seen the movie in probably almost 40 years, but I'm going to pick Eddie and the Cruisers.
Yep. See, and I haven't seen it, so I didn't write that one down. I saw it on the list. Okay. Yep. All right. This is Pete's list, correct? This is the one we're going to put out for him. So, of course, I went to my art class reunion this last week. I saw a gentleman show up in a particular T-shirt from the show Park and Rec, and that is Mouse Rat.
And that gentleman was me.
That was Brad.
I didn't even think of Mouse Rat. That's a great one.
You were wearing the T-shirt on Friday.
I didn't put my time into TV. I had enough.
Gotcha.
I didn't even think about it. I'm going to pick one that Pete will also like, and that is from the movie Wayne's World, Crucial Taunt, the Tia Career Band.
Okay, that was the other one I was going to pick for him.
Yep, I know he'll like that.
Yep. All right, good. All right, so now I got to figure out what the other one is that I want to pick. You know what? I love this one so much that I'm going to pick it in this case. I'm going to take Jack Malik from Yesterday, singing all the Beatles songs that people had forgotten from that movie.
I like that movie.
I think he did a great job doing those songs.
I'll have to look up the spelling on that one because I don't have any idea.
Malik.
Oh, I had EK. IK.
Hmm.
All right, for the last pick for Pete, I'm going to pick a pretty well-known one. The Wonders from That Thing You Do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's one that would have been probably on his radar at least.
Yep. That's a good
All right,
one.
there's our lists. All right, so let's see. So there's another one I almost picked. It's kind of an obscure one like The Commitments, and it's a similar kind of type of movie. It's called Sing Street. There's a lot of people out there that probably have seen that. Dave, our co-host, turned me onto that movie a couple years ago, and I watched it. It's great. That's one, Gifford, that you should watch it too.
Okay.
If you like The Commitments and you'll like Sing Street. One that I could have picked, actually, a book. Now there was an Amazon show that came out just recently, but this is one of my favorite books of the last few years. Daisy Jones and the Six.
Oh, I saw that one.
I
on
love
the list.
that book, and they tell the story. It's great. I
Hmm.
have Sebastian Seb Wilder, which is Ryan Gosling in La La Land.
Oh,
I have the Style Boyz.
yep.
The Mark Wahlberg movie Rockstar. His band is called Steel Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
The Josie and the Pussycats is one. This is another movie you'd think that I would absolutely love, but I really just didn't. I've only seen it once, didn't quite get into it, and I probably maybe should try it again. But Almost Famous was Stillwater.
Stillwater, yep.
I have three more. Gus Polinski and the Kenosha Kickers from Home Alone.
Okay. Okay.
What? That's John Candy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's great. Why are you making that face?
I didn't think of it. And that's why I love these lists.
I have the Tri-Lambs from Revenge of the Nerds when they rock out at the end. And then the last one I thought of, and it's not technically maybe fictional. So it's Ming T from Austin Powers. But actually, Mike Myers made this band with Susanna Hoffs and a couple other people before the movie. But then they are in the movie. They're the band singing those little, crazy little between parts, transitions. Mm-hmm. And so Ming T is kind of fictional, kind of not. It's this made up band, but I wanted to mention that. And then Susanna Hoffs, just fun fact, is also married to Jay Roach, who directed Austin Powers.
Oh, maybe how she got on the film.
All right, what else do you have?
All right, so I've got Stacey Jacks, Tom Cruise character from Rock of Ages.
Oh, Rock of Ages, yeah.
Yep. Of course, Connor for Real. You mentioned Style Boyz. I have the Three Amigos who sang My Little Buttercup.
Yeah, it crossed my mind. Well, actually, yeah, that's true. I was thinking of the desert scene. I forgot about Buttercup. That is they were like a band.
Yep. I also have Scrantonicity, which is Kevin's police cover band in The Office.
Yeah, got that. All right. Knew what you're talking about there.
Yep. I've got the Electric Shoes. That was the band that Kevin Arnold was in the Wonder Years for one episode. So I threw that one in there. And then this one I was kind of leaving off the list because it was about musicians, and technically there are no musicians in this group. This is the Cool Cats. It's the Scrubs Air Band that Turk was in when he did Scrubs, Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe there. So needed to include that one.
All right. Next week we're going to take a little bit of a turn in the tone of things, right? What are we talking about next week?
Next week we are going to get into Stranger Things. This great series debuted in 2016. Back when, now shows are starting to come out, more, 1 week at a time. But this one, I believe, still comes out all at once, and you can binge it all at once. And that's the way I remember going about this show. I think I watched the first season in 2 days. So it's a great one. And we'll get into that next week.
Hey, Gifford.
Hey, what?
What band plays their instruments with the clinical precision of the way the U.S. Army took out bin Laden?
I believe that's Preacher Row.
They're also the four humblest guys you probably would ever meet.
Yes. Well, that's, true, though, in this case. For sure.
All right, let's listen to them. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Yep.
to fear. No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your song is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. And start to me on my back. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared but there's nothing I can do.